The Bay Area is a place where people come to be themselves. And it's a place that attracts artists who want to work in a less commercial way than if they were in LA or New York, really exploring themes around identity, and that appeals to me a lot. When we got started with our arts funding, I remember going with my newly hired program officer in the arts, meeting with every theater and dance company that we could find, and asking them, what's the need? You know, where do you struggle? Where could we be most helpful?
We were looking at artists and organizations that were pushing the boundaries, focusing on social justice issues, creating unique works, site-specific works, things that are sort of out of the box.
I love and appreciate and understand the value of the larger anchor organizations in the community, but most of what I wanted to do was support the smaller organizations to make sure that we had a really healthy ecosystem of the arts. I also knew that I wanted to do something for the Bay Area filmmaking community, for these people who are maxing out their credit cards and begging their parents for money. So the first partnership that we formed in the foundation was with what's now called SF Film.
The filmmaking program was fairly risky. There were not a lot of foundation funders in the narrative film space. The focus was largely on documentary film, and we were not sure if this would be successful at all, if any of these films would even get made.
Narrative films, particularly independent films, where the filmmaker gets a chance to really tell their story the way they want to, they're so powerful. And they have the potential to have an enormous audience.
Some of the first grants went to projects like Beasts of the Southern Wild, talking about climate change and displacement of communities and poverty. Short Term 12 focused on the foster care system, and Fruitvale Station around police violence and brutality.
What is the problem? What did you do? Oh my God.
Good, I'm good, I'm good. We're gonna be good, we're gonna be good.
Those films were incredible successes, and they brought attention to critical issues that all of us are grappling with. Boots Riley is an icon in Oakland. He's an amazing musician, entertainer, thought leader, very engaged in social justice. And when his screenplay landed in this program, it was startling.
You want to make some money here? Use your white boys, like this young blood.
Hey, Mr. Kramer, this is Langston from Regal View.
My film was a strange one. It is a strange one. Everybody's like, how do we do this?
It was so extraordinary and so visual and compelling. This is not a typical film, but it was the kind of film that we wanted to invest in.
The Kenneth Rainin Foundation getting behind it made people understand this is gonna happen. There aren't a lot of funding bodies that specifically look to do something new, while at the same time looking to do something that talks about issues of social justice. So that combination makes Kenneth Rainin Foundation a force that's needed in the film industry. It also then, because Kenneth Rainin Foundation is here, helps make the Bay Area a force in filmmaking.
Thank you. The incredible commitment that the Kenneth Rainin Foundation has made to SF Film, that's been instrumental to give major funding to films every year, and it's actually allowed us to attract more investment in film.
I'm proud of the way that Bay Area filmmakers support each other's work and lift each other up.
So many films that we've funded were made for such a small amount of money with such an enormous amount of heart, went on to change the national discourse.
With the rising costs of living in San Francisco, finding ways to actually pay artists a living wage becomes key, and I think that that's something that the Rainin Foundation has been really focused on, making sure that the project grants that they make actually go to artists, to support artists working, so that we don't just lose all of our talent to markets that have more opportunity like LA and New York.
In a place that's beautiful and attractive and dynamic like San Francisco Bay Area, the issue of real estate is it expensive or prohibitively expensive? If you do not own your space or have a long-term lease, that shadow is always right behind you. The upheaval that it causes to keep moving is incalculable. 8 years ago, a number of people, including the Rainin Foundation, were around the table working around issues of economic development, neighborhood revitalization, and arts and culture and real estate.
There was a land rush and the real estate market just went crazy. 17 buildings changed hands in a period of a year. And we recognized while we were in the recession one minute, we were going to be in a boom the next. And in that boom, we would again face a displacement crisis.
I remember being in a room with my board and hearing this idea, we could buy a building or several buildings, then the arts organizations could live in those buildings, and then they would be able to buy the building back from us and we could do it again.
We said, it's an amazing idea, an incredible model, we're in.
We're providing $5 million in seed funding over 5 years to CAST.
For the Kenneth Rainin Foundation to make a $5 million 5-year grant was incredible.
Counterpulse had been operating for nearly 10 years at 9th and Mission when Twitter moved onto our block. The mid-market was taking off and our landlord was very much ready to ride that wave and, you know, make whatever they could off of the square footage.
The owner wanted to sell. So they, of course, were at risk of displacement, and we decided to start looking for another space for them to purchase.
The first time I saw the building, it was a dilapidated former porn cinema that had been boarded up since the late 90s.
It was already a theater, so it really was just a matter of renovating it, upgrading it, and we were lucky enough to be able to secure it from the owner at the time.
The building underwrites a whole different kind of work and stability for Counterpulse and for the artists who work here. It's almost spiritual. It allows you to trust that you can make investments wholeheartedly in the space. It allows you to put down roots, literally.
Other cities are also grappling with this issue of affordable space. The City of London was so intrigued by CAST, they created their own investment fund to help London artists purchase space. And now we're looking at becoming a model for other cities across the US.
When we first decided we wanted to work in public art, we knew it was a fairly challenging space. So we thought we'd try a pilot, a project called Light Up Central Market. The luggage store was lighting murals in the evening, and they wanted to bring seating back to Central Market. And so they created a platform, a meeting space for people to come together in the neighborhood. What we found is that platform became a very sort of controversial and contentious space. Really reflected the tension in the area and in the city in general about who owns space. And we eventually had to sort of concede and say, you know, this isn't working.
If you're bold enough to try, you're probably going to fail a few times. And so the block by block installation wasn't a win. And honestly, if you were always winning, it would only be an indication that you weren't taking risks.
If we're going to put money into a new arts program and it doesn't turn out the way that we thought it would, it's not a failure. We really make a point of sharing what we learn with the rest of the field so that everybody else can learn from it also.
I think the Rainin Foundation has had incredible vision in valuing temporary public art. And the reason I say that is that there's a very deep conversation going on among artists in the country around art and gentrification, that when the artists come, so rolls in the gentrifying forces that push people out. With temporary public art, we are bucking that trend a little bit because we don't stay. We come and we catalyze, but we don't leave an infrastructure in place that excludes.
By any means necessary! By any means necessary!
We as People's Kitchen Collective really operate at this intersection between art, food, and justice. You know, in the process of this dream that we had had for a long time around gathering 500 people together in the streets of West Oakland, we get asked this question of how are you art all the time. And I think that the way that the Open Spaces program and the Kenneth Renan Foundation broadly define art, I think is really necessary and really productive, because there are a lot of practices that I think 20 years from now will go like, oh yeah, of course that's art. But right now it's kind of like, you know, what's pushing at the boundaries of what is and is not public practice. And, you know, I would love to see just that perspective in other foundations. I think that would, to me, be an incredible kind of part of the legacy to carry forward.
This is exciting, 10 years, wow, congratulations.
The next 10 years of the arts program are going to be fascinating. We are looking at new economy models, collaboratives, cooperatives. We're challenging the entire funding model for nonprofit arts.
We have made 435 grants in the arts in the last 10 years. That totals approximately $29 million. What you guys do has such spectacularly deep impact on everyone it touches. The Renan Foundation will not leave you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.